They lost, fam. The FlopWatchers lost. They tried very, very, very hard to make sure that this movie had an awful opening weekend. They wanted a Supergirl Part 2. That's what they wanted to see. In this video, I want to talk about all the ways they struggled to try and make this movie fail on its opening weekend. Just recently, last week, you saw Critical Drinker and Nerdrotic scrambling over on Piers Morgan Uncensored to try and make all these excuses up on why this movie shouldn't be good, why people shouldn't go into it looking for a film that's going to entertain them, or that the mass public, the general public, is going to reject it because of some weird Hollywood conspiracy theory, woke shit. That's what they wanted when they were on Piers Morgan. We watched Birdman eviscerate them. In this video, I want to go over all the ways they tried to make this movie flop, but they have effectively lost. The opening weekend for the Odyssey has been fantastic. It's been a great opening weekend. It doesn't have any real competition next week. Word of mouth is good. Matter of fact, let's go ahead. I want to look at the Rotten Tomatoes score, and we're gonna talk about how these flop watchers do what they do, what they're in the business of, why it is a media grift. And if you go on to enjoy this video and you like content like this, subscribe to my channel, become part of the board fam, be bored with me. Let's check out Rotten Tomatoes. All right, so here we are, and this puts them in a conundrum. This puts them up against the wall. It backs them in a corner. Okay, so you have a critic approval of 95%. You have a fan approval of 97% after opening weekend. Now, when it came to Supergirl and the critics rated Supergirl low, they're like, yeah, see this, it tracks. The critics got it right. Supergirl wasn't great, and they scored it accordingly. But I've already heard them saying that this is like paid shill. The check is in the mail for these critics, even though they have no proof of it. They never have any proof of it, but they're saying it on social media. I've already seen videos of it too from some of the usual suspects. But the weird thing is, like, Critical Drinker hasn't made a video as of the time of me recording this. He hasn't made a video about Odyssey's opening weekend. We're going to see where Nerdrotic and Geeks and Gamers and those guys go. I know Geeks and Gamers made a somewhat not so negative video about it. I haven't watched yet. Maybe we'll watch it this week on the Copecast Live. But, you're looking at this, they're going, well, the critics, obviously, they were paid to score the movie high because it's Christopher Nolan, even though there's literally no proof of that. But if the score was low, if the critics had given it like a 50 or a 40, they'd be jerking the critics off. They'd be giving hand jobs all around. So that's part of the narrative. You have the 97% fan score. If the fan score is high, they go, oh, it's just a bunch of bots. They just have bots running up the fan score, even though we know that you can't really do that on Rotten Tomatoes anymore. Like, you can get around it, but it's not easy to do. But they would say, oh, it's just bots doing it. Even though Christopher Nolan's films typically score high with fans. They typically score high with the fans. Here, there must be some kind of funny business going on. We're going to ignore that it's a Christopher Nolan movie and just pretend like 97% is impossible. The movie's getting good word of mouth. Again, it's probably going to have a very strong second weekend. Theaters are still selling out at this point. If you're trying to get an IMAX seating, good luck. Good luck with that. PLF, good luck. So the narrative falls apart here. Let's check out the cinema score. Right here it says, the retelling of a classical Greek mythology got the box office back on track, scoring $124.5 million on 3,900 North American screens, earning an A cinema score from audiences. An A. Cinema score has been around since 1979. It's been polling theaters since 1979, and it is basically a ballot process where you go in, you see the movie on its opening night, and you get to rate it on a report card. A, B, C, D, or F, and then they come up with that average, and that average for the Odyssey is an A. That's a fantastic cinema score. So Rotten Tomatoes is good. I believe Metacritic, it had good numbers over there. An A on cinema score. It's 2026's biggest live action opening weekend. It also claimed the top R-rated opening of the year and Universal's highest weekend launch ever for an R-rated movie. So all of the boxes that the FlopWatchers need for this movie to be considered bad, all of the leverage they need, it's gone. It doesn't exist. They don't have the audience on their side. They don't have the critics on their side, and they don't have the box office on their side. Those are the three things that they use to officially attack a movie or call it a flop. A movie can have a great opening weekend, but if the scores are low, they would say, look, that proves that it's bad. And if it has a bad opening weekend financially, but the scores are high, they'd go, well, look at its opening weekend. That means the movie is bad. Because it's all a narrative for them. This is all narrative-driven shit. They've spent months going after this movie. So it's been several months, and I've been covering this for a while on this channel. I've talked about it on my Reloaded channel as well. So I kind of know all of the big talking points when it comes to this movie, okay? So it started out with accusing the movie of being woke DEI casting. They went really hard against Lupita as Helen of Troy. Helen of Detroit, they went we was Kangs, like all of the racist shit you could possibly imagine has been said about Lupita for being cast as Helen of Troy. Even though most people who know the Odyssey have said she probably isn't going to have a big role in the movie, so all of this is for nothing. I would even argue that it's all for nothing anyway, because you shouldn't be saying racist shit about people when they're in movies. They're cast in movies. Like, you shouldn't be doing that anyway. Even if she was playing like a lead character in the film, she shouldn't be subjected to online racism. But for these guys, it stings even more because she wasn't in the movie very much. So they can't use that as an angle to say the movie sucks. Because I've even seen people like Chris Gore and Jeremy from Geeks and Gamers and a lot of other channels walking that back now and saying, well, she's barely in the movie, so it wasn't really a big deal. But it is a big deal because you guys subjected her. There was a hate campaign against her for being a black woman in the movie. And they were still doing this up until just this past week on Piers Morgan. Still doing it. Elliot Page got attacked for playing Achilles, a character that he didn't even end up playing. Wasn't even that character in the movie. Videos like this that circulated all over the place, whether it be YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, going hard against Elliot for playing Achilles. And I want to just reaffirm what I was saying a minute ago. Even if Elliot was playing Achilles, all of the hate and negativity that was going towards him for being a trans person in this role shouldn't have been acceptable anyway. But it stings even more because not only was he in the movie for a tiny bit of time, but he was also playing a completely different character. And I've actually seen some people, I think Endymion was saying that it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that he wasn't Achilles because the character he's playing was a stand-in for Achilles. See how they do it? Even though Christopher Nolan could have just made him Achilles, could have done that because it was his movie, but he had to play some game and make Elliot another character altogether. It's just dumb fucking brain rot. So these were two of the biggest things. And then we had obviously the Travis Scott stuff because they were saying, oh, it's going to be hip hop music through the whole movie. Ended up not being hip hop music through the whole movie. And then there was a Travis Scott song over the end credits. They were complaining about that. Like that affects the actual movie. Dumb shit. None of this stuff moves the needle for the general audience. We are seeing that the general audience is not affected by this kind of bullshit. And then we have videos like this that just came out 5 days ago from Nerdrotic accusing Christopher Nolan of playing for awards and then throwing a picture of Lupita and Elliot in the thumbnail as if somehow that's the only reason they were cast in the Christopher Nolan movie was for Christopher Nolan to get awards. We've already debunked this. It's been debunked many, many, many times. The criteria to get into the awards was already achieved prior to any person on screen appearing on screen. They had already reached those the criteria for that. There's 4 ways you can do it. He had already reached 2 of the 4, and that's all you need. That's all you need to do it. So this is more dumb, anti-black, anti-trans bullshit from a bunch of people that absolutely 100% lost this time. They all fucking lost. And the reason why it's so important to nail this down is it just proves that they were never right about Supergirl. They were never right about that. Any movie that they call a flop, or it's going to be a bomb, or it's going to be shit, or it's going to be slop, or whatever, they say it preemptively because the currency for those videos, for that content, is done prior to people actually seeing the films. They've already made their money. It doesn't matter once the movie comes out if it's good or bad. They're not selling you honesty. They're not selling you actual film criticism. They are selling you narrative. And if you don't believe me, here's Jeremy from Geeks and Gamers, a video I made a couple years ago. Here's Jeremy from Geeks and Gamers explaining exactly what they do.
No.
Welcome to every video we make. We use one little thing and then we build the narrative out of it. Don't act like that's not what we do.
I don't build a narrative. I
You're
give
an
my
absolute
opinion.
fucking.
You are hard.
What we do.
There we go. Once again, I always go back to this clip. Jeremy here from Geeks and Gamers admits they take one little thing and they build a narrative out of it. And that's what these channels do. It doesn't matter if the movie is good or bad. It doesn't matter if the TV show is good or bad. They're not selling you that. And all of you people out there that defend these channels and defend these content creators, just know that you are lining their pockets with money over them media grifting. They're doing this specifically to make money off of spreading outrage on the internet. Jeremy just admitted it. That's what they do. They find one tiny thing and they create a narrative around it. The media grift is falling apart. It actually is. There's no power behind the movement anymore. It doesn't make sense. Targets are all over the place because it is getting thin out there for these guys. Here's Ben Shapiro telling conservatives, just outright telling them that the way they are going about viewing media and deciding what kind of media is woke and not woke, it's not a battle they want to fight. It's a losing battle. Listen to him. I can't believe I'm saying this, but listen to Ben Shapiro. He's talking specifically to the community that does this shit.
Like, Nolan is a master of his craft. I would say that this movie, it's definitely top tier Nolan. When you think of like the best Nolan films, like the best ones, you're talking Dark Knight, Interstellar, The Prestige is up there on the list. And then you get to sort of the just under that tier. I put this in the just under that tier. I put this in like the Odyssey, Inception, Oppenheimer, Dark Knight Rises. I kind of go, it's like top of the second tier is where I put the Odyssey. It's not as good as like the movies I think are his very best, but it is better than pretty much anything else anybody else is making. I think there's a message here for conservatives. I know there are a lot of conservatives who are getting whipped up about the film because it is stupid to cast Elliot Page as a dude. It's just stupid. But people on the right were saying, oh, the movie's going to bomb because of that. No, the movie's not going to bomb because of that. It turns out that when people want to be entertained, they're willing to entertain even bad flaws in the tooth if it turns out that the smile is nice. It turns out that the people are willing to undergo some bad politics and some bad decision-making if the film is great. But if conservatives want to be effective in the culture, you can't just label the entire piece of art bad because a decision in the art is bad. This movie's going to make a fortune. It should make a fortune. It's creative. It's interesting. It's visually incredible. I think the broader theme of the movie is actually very much in line with many things that conservatives think. And if you let Elliot Page kill that for you, I think you're missing out on an incredible movie-going experience. And you can do all of that while still being annoyed.
There we go. Now, of course, I'm no fan of Ben Shapiro. I don't care that he thinks it was stupid to cast Elliot Page in a role. I don't think doesn't matter to me either. But this is someone in the heart of this culture war shit going, hey, it's dumb to prejudge movies the way we're doing it. And it's desperation. It smells like desperation when guys like Nerdrotic and Critical Drinker go on Piers Morgan and complain about the fidelity of a Greek film, but don't give a fuck that there's no Greek people in it. It just seems desperate to me. They've effectively lost everyone. They lost this battle. So the last thing I want to talk about before we jump out of here is some of the excuses, the contingency plans that these guys have set up for themselves. The first one is that it's a Nolan film. Of course it's going to make money. So if the movie makes money, they don't have to answer for that because they've already said, well, of course it's going to make money, even though they've been flop watching the fuck out of this movie for the last 3 or 4 months. And we know that. The other one is that critics are typically soft on Nolan. So even if they score him high, it's because they love Nolan and they're going to give him a high score. They're not talking about the quality of the movie. They're just saying that critics would score him high, or they're paid shills, obviously. When it comes to fans, they're going to claim that fans out there don't know enough about filmmaking to truly understand why the movie is bad. So of course they're going to rate it high because they're fans of Nolan and they don't care about the art or the quality of the movie. They've also shifted focus. Now the movie is boring. If you watch my video where I looked at Chris Gore and Alan when they came out of theaters, Alan kept saying it's boring. And this is now the talking point for a lot of these channels, that the movie is boring. It doesn't have enough action. It doesn't feel true to the Odyssey. These are just dumb parachutes for these guys to jump out of the planes on because they need something to make it feel like the movie is still worth going after. Where do I think this is going to land for the guys over the next few weeks? I think they're going to pick another target. I think we're going to see it. I don't know what it is yet. We'll have to look and see, but they're going to pick another target. They're going to start going hard on that target, and they're not really going to talk about the Odyssey. You might hear them during Friday Night Tights or their live streams say Helen of Detroit or something stupid like that, one of the dumb thumbnails or dumb titles that they've assigned to this movie, because they still want to bring it up as if there is something wrong with it, even though they know for a fact that they've actually lost this whole entire battle over the Odyssey. They've lost this. Which, by the way, I think it's still going to have a strong weekend. I wouldn't be surprised if it does really well, even when Spider-Man is out, because I think typically Nolan movies do have a longer lifespan in theaters. So I think it's probably still going to do well, even with Spider-Man. And I don't think Spider-Man's going to suffer because of this movie, but I think some people that want to see it in IMAX are going to go see it the week that Spider-Man comes out because it's selling out all over the place. So we have that. So I don't know where they're going to go in terms of like going after movies. Maybe Spider-Man, possibly, but there's been nothing really in Spider-Man for them to latch onto. They could create something, but it would require like a red carpet interview or earned media moment or something like that, where they can pick it apart and pretend like the movie is going to fail for that reason. But you could also see, like with Geeks and Gamers and with Ben Shapiro, where they admit that the movie, even though they have to still lean into the idea that a trans person shouldn't be a character or Lupita shouldn't be cast in the movie, they're going to admit that the movie is good and they're just going to move on from it. Which I'm very curious at the time of this video coming out, which will be Monday, if Critical Drinker has released his review for the movie, because I definitely want to react to that video. I want to see what he has to say. There's actually a Geeks and Gamers video. It's like 26 minutes. We might react to that one on Copecast Live, but the Critical Drinker video will definitely be my next video about this, if it comes out on Monday, so I can make the video for Tuesday. But this is just proof, again, guys, that these channels don't know what they're talking about. Everything is a target for them. There's no precision. There's no real thought behind it. It is a formula that they just do over and over and over again because it doesn't require them to be right. I want to say this again. This type of stuff doesn't require them to be correct because they've already made all of their YouTube money prior to the movie coming out. And their fan base that are full of like bigots or people that want an echo chamber or whatever it is, they don't care if it's wrong because they're along for the ride. A lot of them are along for the ride and they don't care if it's real. They just want to hear them say the thing. So I'm happy the Odyssey is doing well. I hope it continues to do well. Just like a lot of people out there are saying it's probably going to make $1 billion. Maybe it will. It's certainly going to make a lot of money. I don't know if it's going to do $1 billion, but it's a Nolan film. It's getting extremely good. Like I've had people, this is anecdotal, so I'm not saying that everybody is doing this, but I've had people in my own life who came up to me and said, hey, this Odyssey movie, it's like, you know, I knew it was coming out, but I wasn't super interested in it, but it's getting a lot of really good reviews. And I'm hearing that it had a really good opening weekend. It might be worth checking out. So at least anecdotally, people that I know that wouldn't typically go out and even see a Nolan movie are willing to go out and see this movie because they've heard it's good. So this just proves that the culture war stuff that they're latching onto is dying. Matter of fact, I would say this even proves that none of the stuff that they complained about for Supergirl, Millie being ugly, saying that she supports queer people on the red carpet, all of these different things, I've said from the beginning that had nothing to do with the movie not doing well in the box office. Just like the stuff that happened with Odyssey has nothing to do with the movie doing well in the box office. Those things don't move the needle for the general public. They're curated moments that get used on social media that get pushed out to the demographics that they need to go to. And very rarely do they break outside of those bubbles, because targeted marketing is actually a thing, everybody. It's actually a real thing. These guys scour through clips and clips and clips of targeted marketing to find something that isn't targeted for them so they can complain about it and act like the general public is seeing it. It's so obnoxious. It's so stupid. And I'm so glad that they're fucking wrong about this. I'm so glad they're wrong.